Okay, I'm sitting kind of in an awkward position because Stella is right underneath me. But we did get better sleep last night. Um, so that was an improvement. There was one time, though, when she did get up and wanted to go out. Um, and so I went and let her out, and it was hard. I was like out of it. And then I went and laid back down and went to sleep, like just conked right back out. And then she came back to the door to come back in. And I tried to get up, and my foot was asleep. It was like my whole like lower leg part was asleep, and I was trying to walk. It was hilarious. I'd never had that happen before. It was really hard. It was very hard to walk. And I'm trying to drag my limp leg and I'm falling over. I'm so tired. But anyways, then she got up like 2:30. And so we still got to sleep like from 7:30 to 2:30, but still I want to go back to sleep. But she's gotten up, she's eaten, she's gone outside, and she's laying there sleeping again. And I could go back to sleep right now, but I'm fucking worked up. And so my desire was to come here and purge out uh, my emotions, I guess, talk it through. It's like, it's so mind-boggling. I don't understand. It is I don't know, it's kind of sad in the direction that so many women keep going. Just keeps going in this certain direction. And it's going to be a pileup. You watch, it's going to be like a fucking disaster. And then they are all going to have to face themselves because they're all living in this victim mentality. Poor, poor me. Men are the worst. Oh, you can't trust them. They're so scary. And hate all men. Men suck. A man says anything, well, he's going to be attacked. You go on and fucking make a comment on a man's thing. If he's saying something, oh, Jesus Christ, that was my mistake. Confirmation. Because it was all day yesterday, just nonstop fucking attacking me. And so then went to sleep. It was like, okay, fuck off. And I went to sleep and woke up to 10 times the amount. It is mind-boggling. And it is crazy too how these women all start like bullying you. And I have been treated bad. I've been treated so bad by women throughout my life. I can't just say, oh, it's just men. What men do is different than what women do. But I've been treated like shit by so many women. So fucking many. So for them to sit there and act like, oh, we're all perfect. And then you come in and start attacking me. Okay. Then and then try and say like, oh, you're just a pick me. Oh, so if my opinion matches this guy over here, I don't have an opinion of my own. I'm just saying it because I want him to pick me. A stranger that I've never met before, that I'm just like, oh, I just want him to pick me. So I'm just going to say what he says. Well, isn't that funny how I said it even before? I mean, I had just said a comment just like I do all day long, go on TikTok and say a comment, not thinking about like, oh, I hope he picks me. Jeez, I hope he finds me and picks me. Oh, well, that's what I've got DMs up the yang. I don't need to worry about that. If I'm just looking for someone to pick me, I can just go out and pick out of them. So it was absurd. And then it's absurd to think like I don't think for myself. Like I'm just agreeing with whatever. It's like, maybe that's how you guys run your world, is you don't think for yourself, because obviously you don't. You just all agree with one another, and you don't stop and think like, oh, maybe I have issues with man, or with a bunch of men because I'm not healing my trauma. Maybe I'm blaming the world. Maybe I think every man's out to get me because, some guy at some point treated me bad. But I've had just so many women. Like I've had women who have stolen from me. I've been sexually assaulted by a bunch of women. I have been had things stolen. They'll steal your man. They'll steal your stuff. They'll steal your clothes. They'll steal your money. They'll steal shit out of your purse. They will sit there and be nice to your face and backstab the fuck out of you. Like that's not something a man would do. Most men will tell you right to your face what they think. Well, I mean, I think probably in our damaged society, a lot of men won't just say, because the woman would just start bawling her head off and run out of the room crying. She couldn't listen to somebody's opinion who would be honest. Like, there's so many women who are also losing because there's so many men who are calling all this fake, phony shit out. And it's absurd. Like, you see these video after video. These women, they put on their fucking fake ass hair, all this fucking do up their face, all this, just this fake ass thing. And then they go learn how to lip sync. Or I don't know what lessons that you need to do. They just practice, I guess, because some of them aren't good at it at all. And then take off as much clothes as possible. Look in the mirror, like, try and find something that looks really good. Like, you can tell I don't do that too much. Like, I'll just throw on, I've got a bunch of these black sweaters, but I just throw on a black sweater over my shirt and my pajama pants, and I've only got, like, I don't know, 5 pairs of those. I have to just keep washing them and, you know, wearing the same ones, but it's cold and I want to be comfortable. And I'm not going anywhere. If I'm going somewhere, I'm getting dressed. But to sit in my house, you know, those dresses will get worn, but I'm not going to just put them on. Like, when it gets warmer too, I wear more sundresses and stuff. But anyways, I'm not going to just force something. So, you know, I don't know. There's just so much of this forcing things in our world. And so these women go and then they do these little desperate dances, and it's just like this desperation in women. Just like, if I take off all my clothes, will you tell me that I'm pretty so that you will like me? Then that means you like me if you think I'm pretty. It's like, women, you have set the fucking bar down so low, and you are the ones so desperate. You are the ones who have allowed men to become this, you know, treating women bad. When you're going out and you're just, you know, meeting a guy up to just go and so he can have sex with you real quick and he doesn't have to do anything. What do you think happens in our society when the women stop valuing themselves? So it's spun out of control. There's no balance. Think the men are going to be like, oh no, I'm not going to have sex with you. That would mean that we, you know, possibly we were more committed or something. No, a man's going to fucking, and so many parts of women who start being like, well, I've got my needs and I just want to have sex. I'm just like a man. I don't care. I just want to have sex. But women aren't men. Women don't feel like that about the same. Even when they go out and try and act like, oh yeah, well, I'm just all out there just doing it with a bunch of different people and stuff. Still is creating an earthquake. Then all I can say is that men have a different attitude inside them, and women have a different attitude inside them. You can fight against that, but you know, you're going to be carrying all these different guys' energy and stuff. It's going to have an effect on you. Like, just filling yourself up with all these strangers' energy and stuff, and it's going to affect your self-esteem. And at some point, you're going to think like, you know, does anybody like me? Does anybody care about me? Am I just here just to have sex because that's what you have created for yourself? And so women have more emotions, more of, like, men, because you got to think, like, we all have this balance inside of us. We all have the light and the dark, the AC, the DC. But then in the micro macro, then it splits out, and we are representatives of the AC, DC. And so the men are representative of a certain energy, and the women are representative of a certain energy. But when the women are out of balance and the men are out of balance, then it's just a bunch of, it's like all the circuits are not firing right, you know, nothing is in harmony, nothing is in balance. And so the women and the men, but the women are the leaders. The women are the ones because they follow their gut in a better society, let's say. Because right now we've got people who are just so out of balance, they're out of whack. But so if you as a woman, then the woman sets the tone, And so if a woman has no respect for herself, then the man's not gonna have any respect for herself, for her. If the woman, is like, I have respect for myself, and then the man was like, well, I'm gonna move on to somebody who doesn't respect themselves, then you have to be like, oh, okay, bye. But a lot of women become so desperate. And then they just, well, I got one on the hook. I better reel him in. I can't lose this one, or I'm going to be alone. I'm going to be a spinster. Nobody's going to ever want me. I got to just lower my bar. And so we've gotten really out of whack. And instead of women being like, okay, yeah, I don't need you. I'm fine. And waiting. But then, because that group of women who became like that, they became like, well, a guy has to be, practically perfect to be able to be in my space. And I'm not perfect, but, anybody who wants to join into my space, they better be perfect. So there was still an out of balance. There's still, and one thing too, is I have heard this from so many professional women. Once they get to a certain point of being able to take care of themselves, then they oftentimes will end up taking care of men and stuff, because men will latch on to a woman who is a go-getter, who can take care of herself. And so that gets out of balance. There's a lot of things, like when you just stop and look at it and you see, like, what's the healed version and what's the broken version. And when we start trying to create the healed version, when we start trying to look at the parts that aren't working, the parts that are dysfunctional, and we start going towards being healed and putting everything in order, and it starts with each of us. And each of us, we all have our own experience, and each of us needs to go in and find our own balance. You can't find balance if you're holding on to things that are from the past. Just because you are stuffed them down and you think they're hidden, no, it creates a reactive persona. Like, you are just reactive. When a trigger happens, like somebody does something and it pulls from parts of you that are hidden, then you think it's this other person. No, they're triggering something that is inside of you, your deep hidden stuff. If you don't want to be triggered by people, you need to get that shit out of you. You need to look at it. You need to go at it more proactive. And so that is where you find yourself healing and getting into balance, is you start looking at your own shit. And not just, oh, well, we would have a perfect world if men would get their shit together. Okay, well, if I'm over in the man's group and that group is like, well, we would have a perfect world if women would get their shit together. But a lot of the stuff that men are saying is real. It's true. Women are fake. They are phony. They do demand a lot. They do get their feelings hurt if you don't agree with them. Like, all of these things that they are saying, I see it too. And yeah, there is a lot of men who are aggressive, but right now in our society, it's showing very much that there is a lot of men who are coming to the rescue of women and saying, like, yeah, we're on your side. Like, this isn't right. And a lot of the men that are doing the crimes are being exposed as being criminals. Like, yeah, there's bad things happening. They're criminals. And at the same time, there is one after another of women who are on the news. They've either, one yesterday, a woman who's married with, I think she was about to get married. And I swear to God, because there's some of these women, they have kids, husbands, and everything, and they still think, oh, well, let's have sex with a fifth grader, sixth grader. That eighth grader, he's pretty damn cute. It's like, the video that just is going around too with Justin Bieber, and Jenny McCarthy grabs him and starts sexually assaulting him right on stage, and people clap like, oh, that's so cute. You're a grown-ass woman fucking manhandling a 16-year-old boy because you think he's cute. That's disturbing to me. And I don't know, what her deal is. I don't know if she was doing it for laughs or what the hell, it could have been that the people, her handler, told her that she had to do it. I don't fucking know. I don't know her life. I would think, because she has a boy that if somebody was doing that to her son, that she would be like, oh, no, get your damn hands off my son. So I don't know. People just like, what's wrong with their minds? But like they don't think things through or something. And but there is on the news all day long, women are being arrested, teachers, and some of them, yeah, are married with kids, and they're doing this stuff. And there is one after another of these women either abusing their kids or murdering them. And I just was, this is a part of our absurdity of the awakening, is the kid right now, the 6-year-old who was at school, who he told his teacher, well, I don't want to go home because I'll get locked back in the cage. So she calls the fucking cops, calls the DCS and all that, and they all come and go to the house, which, yeah, there's a fucking cage. It's made. The people made it. They told them all about it. They have a 2-year-old, stays in their cage. And because, you know, he's got attention deficit. They don't have time for him. He's got to stay in his cage. The wife has to work. And, you know, he just needs to be caged. With their 2-year-old needs to be caged too. And this is a grown-ass man and woman that are scientists. And you look at them, I'm sure they've got all sorts of people dropping to their knees for their great minds that want to talk to them. And this is the kind of people they are. That, you know, they have kids that they can't be bothered with and just lock them in a cage. And this also is part of the absurdity, is right now it's already going. The women who are already complaining, oh my God, it's almost summer. I'm going to have to feed my kids. I'm going to have to deal with my kids all summer. It really struck me was like, okay, I think it would put people off from these just popping out kids, just popping them out, popping them out, popping them out. Just, you know, well, that's what I need to start a family and stuff. If they didn't have this government alternative of taking care of your kids all day. If it was on the people like it used to be, and you had your kids and then you had to feed them, take care of them all day, you had to entertain them, teach them, educate them, do whatever it is that you need to do in your home besides caging them or tying them up out back or whatever. There was so much of for us as kids that it was like, you know, go outside and play, because our moms were home and they didn't put us in cages. They just told us, go outside, go play, go do something. And a lot of the people back then too that were telling us, a lot of them were off of farms and stuff. Like the cities were just getting started. And so a lot of the people were just like, you know, they grew up outside. So they told us, get outside, go do stuff. And, you know, that's what we did. And we went out and had adventures, and we figured out how to make things and do things. Like I just saw a guy talking about like, man, when I was like 5 years old, we were going out and making forts. We'd leave the house in the morning. We'd all go ride our bikes way out in the forest. We would make forts, and then they would make, what was it called? I can keep hearing shenanigans, but they would make things like if somebody came to their fort and tried to get to it, things would roll down and hit them and stuff like that. Like they'd make it like, and he said, you know, don't mess with our fort. And so, but that's what kids did, you know, and it created, you know, it created creative minds. It was better for us. It was better for our minds. Right now, kids live in such limitation. And I mean, just like 2 scientists. You got a kid that has got all this energy and stuff, and you're not like getting him like some science stuff, getting him a little room set up that he can go in and he can use his great mind. Maybe he's an artist. Maybe get him set up with a lot of artistic stuff and things that he can create. But no, let's just lock that little bitch up in a cage all day. So I think their kids are taken. But this is more and more of our society stuff that is going to be shown. You know, like you have a label called a scientist, and you think they're a great mind. When what kind of person are they? At the same time, we have the preacher who, you know, did in his wife, who was trying to expose him for his crimes. And gosh, total attack on my throat. Hold on. expose his crimes, and she ends up dead. And so but there's gonna be more and more of that, because that is an easy beard for so many people. They can be the worst person in the world, but, well, I go to church on Sundays, so I'm a good person. And that has been a part of our society. And that is why, that's why this whole fucking categorizing us is absurd. And but that is all of this breaking apart, because people have got to get out of this generalizing and stereotyping, and they got to start seeing people as individuals. And I think one of the problems is too is people don't trust themselves. So there's a lot of women who just like, well, I got to stay safe. Men are just dangerous, because they don't know how to trust themselves. They don't have boundaries. And so they go, and then they gather in groups of women. And then it's not even out of protection. Then it's like, well, we just don't need men. Let's just all have sex together. Fuck those guys. We won't get pregnant then. Then we don't have to worry about the abortion law. Like, it's like our society is so out of balance. It's like, okay, so go micro, macro. How far are you going to get if you just deny one side of yourself? And so in our society, we have the two sides, and we've got to be the ones that come together and find the balance. And we can't find the balance if we don't heal ourselves, if we don't look at things differently from our own point of view, if we don't start being more rational and start learning how to heal and trust ourselves and use discernment and have boundaries. Like, that is an important part of women and empowerment, is about learning how to learn to trust yourself. If a guy is being inappropriate, say, hey, dude, back off. And I just saw this video. This was pretty good, too. I saw it the other day of this woman. And I don't know, there's so many videos that are just set up. This one didn't seem set up. But she was sitting like in an apartment building on some stairs. And it was an indoor one. So she was sitting indoors, stairs. And there's a man. And I'm not seeing, how is the phone over here video recording? Or is this some sort of security footage? I don't know. Or if it's a setup, I don't know. But so he keeps harassing her. And she's telling him, shut the fuck up, get away from me, leave me alone. And he won't. He seems kind of drunk. And so she stands up real quick. She stands up. And that is something that I learned, like, with dealing with a big dog, is that is very intimidating. That's what they say to do when you're out in the wild. And if a big animal starts to approach you, you're supposed to make yourself bigger. You're just big and loud. And that is very much like, woo, that kind of scares him, backs him up. That's what happened with this guy. And she jumps up and tells him, fuck off, get the fuck away from me. And so he starts, going over there, starts going down. And then as she sits back down, he does it again. And she does it again. And then the video ended. But that is the thing, is women have got to learn, because so many times women would be like, he's coming over and harassing. Well, I don't want to be rude. Well, I don't want to be mean. Well, I don't want to hurt his feelings. So I'm just going to sit here, and be all like a victim. And instead of saying, dude, get your drunk ass the fuck away from me. And if he doesn't, get up and walk away, get away from the problem. And, but, in our society, we've seen, like, women can be walking down the street, get punched square up in the face, turn around and run like, I've done something wrong. I'm shamed. It's like, they did something wrong. The person who just found you, like, distracted and decided to wake you up, they did something wrong. They don't have the right to do that. I saw this video, too, this woman. And I don't even know the whole thing. It was somebody in the parking lot was filming this. So I don't know what the whole thing was. And it was an older woman in a car. And I don't know if this was over a parking space. It was probably at Walmart, stereotyping. Probably in a parking lot, because those parking lots do get vicious, it seems. And the one woman, and she was pretty big. I mean, she wasn't like, giant fat lady or something like that, but she was big, like intimidating big, like, she looks like she looked ready to fight. Like, she looked like she's ready to fucking beat somebody up. She didn't give a fuck about anything. She's fucking pissed off. And we got women going around like that. And then we say, oh, no, it's just men. There's women too. Like, how are you not seeing this? And so she goes over and she is yelling at this woman through her window in her car, right up in this woman's face, screaming and yelling at her. And then she stands back and spits on her and then walks off like, fuck yeah. I'm fucking on. It's like, what in the holy hell? That is assault for one thing. You can't spit on somebody. Like, and, but, you know, I'm sure she'll, you know, but maybe with the one woman, we go talk to the other woman, get the footage, and go make a police report. And that woman could be picked up for assault. It wouldn't be, you know, there's different ranges of assault. But yeah, you're not allowed to go up and spit your bodily fluids on somebody. And then if you had a lawyer, like a lawyer could go through and find out like what sickness this lady has, like if she've even got any kind of sickness and you're trying to spread your disease. And so you can even get more trouble. And they can beef up your charges over, you know, your germs. But anyways, and it's a big thing. Like if you're a nurse and a patient spits on you, oh yeah, they'll be arrested. Like, but I think it's more of a battle. But I mean, that woman had video evidence. Like, and that woman was so fucking aggressive and violent towards another woman. Like, and then how much these women have been acting like to me, like you could go on that video. Like I shared the video, and it was where Crystal had commented, and you go in and find my comment. You can read what these people are saying. And it's crazy. I mean, and they're all such bullies, and they always they get so mad if a woman is not on the side of I hate all men. I hate all men. We should be able to freely go get babies taken out of us. And to me, that is based on my spiritual perspective. Is that when you have a baby coming inside of you, that is your journey. You just went on your journey. And so if you go and you choose to have that taken out of you, that is you trying to control what you're here for. And those are your lessons. But yeah, like I've said, your journey comes to you. You don't have to go out and force it. You don't have to go out and try and make it happen. It will just happen the way it's supposed to happen. And there's a lot of people who are like, no, because they're disconnected from God, from source, from the universe, from what's real. And then they think that they've got a better idea, a better design of how to live. And, you know, they've got to do things right. Yeah, but your lessons are not in doing things right. Your lessons are in doing things wrong. Your lessons come not in the package that you're hoping for. And it all depends, too. Like, when I got pregnant, like, I was not expecting it at all. And I didn't even think I could get pregnant. And it just so happened I had just gotten married, but it locked me into a relationship that was super, super toxic. It took me years to figure out how to get out of that. And it was very difficult. But I don't look at it as like, oh, you know, I was a victim to them. Oh, I looked at it as like, oh, that was my growth. I was an opportunity for me to grow, to start learning about myself, to start seeing myself. It took me a long time. Like I still was in several bad relationships, some very long bad relationships. But it's all a part of the learning. It's all a part of the growth. It's a part of us becoming ourselves. So yeah, when people are trying to control it, like, well, you know, I'm gonna go have sex with strangers, then I'm gonna get pregnant, and I'm just gonna rip that baby out because I'm not gonna suffer any repercussions because I'm the one who's in charge here. It's like, okay, well, see how that works out for you in your life review. Like, see what you think then, and see if you completed the task what you came to do. As whatever the lessons are, you're always going to have lessons, whether it is that you're trying to control and you're disconnected from yourself and you're trying to rule the game, you're trying to be the master of the 3D world, like, you know, you're going to make things be the way you want them to be or something. Anyways, that's all based on a different perspective in life. Like, I look at life very differently. And then you try and say that to people, and then they think that you're a religious fanatic who's trying to force them into having children. And then they always come up with, what about a rape victim? Oh, I guess, okay, so they're not here to learn any kind of lessons, are they? No. They probably, we better take control. Let's just, as a society, say, no, we're going to take control of everything. We're not going to let life happen. Like, well, why would we do that? So, anyways, but we can't find balance with our counterpart when we don't have any balance in ourselves. And so we haven't even gotten to that part of being able to find balance in the counterpart situation, where we've become a complete a circuit that is in harmony and balance. It's not all out of whack. And then, the other comes in when they feel that they are all in balance. And then the two people come together who are in balance. And then that starts a whole new balance, which I believe this is a big part of what's going to happen in our society. I believe that there's going to be like a quantum jump in love. And but this is right now is what we're purging out. And when you deal with these people who are trying to hold on to a narrative and keep it going and keep this division going, is, they just want a society of women. There's a lot of good things about men. I mean, they have special abilities that women don't have. And so that's where you have to figure out how to find balance so that you have more ability. You have more, like when you have a couple that is in harmony, then you have a full circuit. You have both people in balance, find balance with one another, and both of them bring something to the table which enhances their abilities. And these people want to just keep being like, they don't need that. Well, most of them don't even think that they need to be healed. They think just being more angry and more divisive is the direction to go. And to be so hateful towards women when you're trying to say, like, women act a certain way, and then they just all show you, yep, we do. Like, you don't agree with us, we're going to attack you, we're going to call you names. And plus the absurdity of the pick me. I can't even believe how many times that I've been told in these comments. I've stopped reading them now. Yesterday, it was such an assault that I almost went in and deleted my comment. I was like, I don't have fucking time for this fucking nonsense. This is absurd. And so I was going to go in and delete it. And then I saw this guy did a video response to my comment, which that has only probably enhanced the anger on these women. And then I had a bunch of people coming in telling me that I took the blame for my abuse. It's like, where are you coming up with this shit? Oh, I'm so sorry that you take the blame for your abuse. I trying to talk to people who are not healed or that are on the 3D script is like, I don't have the patience. I don't have the patience for it. And then, so I was going to delete the comment just so I didn't have to deal with the bullshit. And then he did that one. And so then I was like, okay, just forget it. Just leave it. Then I get up this morning and there's like fucking so many. And how many of them are, you're a pick me. These ladies come up with like just any old fucking term. We're gonna use that one, and we're gonna just attack women and tell them, like, if you don't agree with the rest of us, you're just a pick me. You're a pick me. It's like, oh God, it's so absurd. I just can't even get over it. And I don't know, the narrative of divisiveness and all the people that jump onto it, and then they want to keep it divided. They get so angry. How dare anybody try and have a healthier society, to even think that men could, do more or be decent people. Well, I see a lot of men that are decent people. I interact with a lot of men who are decent people by, all appearances. I deal with a lot of women who, I deal with a lot of women who are very, very, level-headed and kind and thoughtful, but there is a lot that aren't. And so that group, in comparison to the men that are, it's like you guys are just the same. Just because you want to think like, oh, well, they're men, they're different. You guys are just as angry and divisive and hateful. And bet your ass there is some women who are going and looking for fights with men. And another thing too that's weird is how many of these women who I've seen these women, like this one, she got punched in the face. And this was a while back, and she was out in the streets, I guess, apparently, because she first made this video, this big thing about she was at the ER, she got punched in the face, she has this big fucking knot, and it's like really sad and the stuff she's saying. But then other videos starts coming out of her on the street, and that she was taunting and acting like an asshole to all these men and being a total bitch, I guess, apparently. Like, why are you even going? What? Why can't you just walk past him? Even if a man just whistles and says, hey, baby, is that automatic? Like, oh, I have to respond? Like you're Pavlov's dog or something? You can't just walk by like, okay, whatever. No. So I don't know what happened, but whatever, she started being an asshole to them. And then some guy turns around and punches her. And then she was so mad because none of these other men were coming to her rescue. But it's like, okay, so you want to talk shit on men, but then you expect them to come to your rescue. Because I've seen other videos like this. Well, and this happened, and I looked around, and there was men sitting over there, and they weren't doing anything. So you're expecting a man to run over and rescue you. Why aren't you looking around at all these women and saying, hey, where's all the women coming to rescue me? Why aren't these women coming to rescue me? It's like, I don't know. Maybe I just see something that other people don't see. And that is, that's fucking challenging, I'm telling you. Because to me, it's like absurd. So, all I can say is that all these women who, they've obviously been hurt. They've obviously been hurt and probably were hurt by someone when they were young. Then they went and got married or started relationships, but they didn't have boundaries. They didn't have good self-esteem, so they were with shitty people who treated them bad. And then and women, they want to believe it. If that guy loves me, he says he loves me, he must really love me. And they don't even understand that, no, he likes the way you look. That's about as far as deep as it's gotten. He likes the way you look. He'd rather you not open your mouth, really. And then they're just like, oh my God, how does this happen? This man didn't respect me. He didn't care about me. It's because, well, you went into the relationship and you didn't respect yourself. You're willing to take any old fucking guy that said you look pretty. So, but you got to take responsibility for that. You got to go like, oh, so that's how I've set my bar that low. First guy who says you're pretty, well, he must love me. I'm gonna go get married to him and have some kids with him, because he's the first guy who's ever said a kind word to me. It's like, well, I think if you start expecting people to speak kind to you, you will have more people speaking kind to you. If you go around and you feel like shit about yourself, then it's going to be people who feed off of that. They feed off of control, and they want to control you. And they have a tendency, like they can read the vibration. Like that's what you're pulling in. So the guy who, tells you you're pretty, he's just wanting to get in there and control you. And it could be, that he thinks you're pretty and he wants to walk around and show everybody like how great he is because he's got a pretty girlfriend. But you best not open your mouth, because nobody wants to hear your opinions. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. You shouldn't have a thought in your mind. You're just there to look pretty. And so, and there's women, like, who have been, punched right square in the face by their husbands, been kicked, stomped, arms broken, backs broken, like all that stuff. And typically a woman will just continue to stay. You know, like, well, you know, if I try a little harder, he'll probably be nicer. You know, that's bad self-esteem. That is not caring about yourself. That's setting the bar too low. So yeah, it's when you start, and that's the journey in those relationships, is learning how to stand up for yourself, learning how to care about yourself, learning about, you know, there's a lot of lessons. It's all about lessons. Every motherfucking thing is about the lessons. It's like, god damn, fuck, it's so weird how people look at life, and then you try and fucking, it's like, oh my god, then you try and say anything that is rational or sane, and then it's like, doing. I'm in 3D world. Don't talk rational to me. I only talk about 3D shit. It's like, ugh. And the 3D, now my stomach's growling. The 3D world is there to control you, to control your mind. So you're just basically like, yeah, I'm under mind control. It's cool. It's cool. I don't have to think for myself. I just follow along with the crowd. Whatever they say goes. I'm like, okay. So you can see why there needs to be a state of independence, why people need to pull free from groups. And we've been having it going and going and going, pulling free from groups. But I mean, once you start having to pull free from your own gender, I was like, it's getting serious, man. It's getting real serious. Because I definitely feel like I've got to pull free. Like, I'm not just a woman. I'm not in this category that you guys are trying to keep over here. I'm in a different one. I'm in the healed women group. The women who believe in themselves, that they can be vulnerable, that they can have good boundaries, that they can, you know, if a man approaches them, they can tell him, no, thanks, not interested. And sometimes they'll just reapproach. And sometimes it's like, you know, you could think they're a little thick, a little desperate. But that's their side of them showing, you know, and that doesn't mean that you need to be like, oh, well, no, well, he must really like me then. Okay. So somebody can like you without even knowing you. They can just see you and they just like you. No, that is your honing, your soul honing in on, oh, there's my lesson. There's my lesson right there. Wait a minute, I'll catch up. It's not, you know, there was so many that I had in my life experience. And I thought, oh, these were my soulmates. I mean, the way that I would meet them, the whole way it would all go together. And I've always been spiritual ever since I was a kid. And so I would look at things in a bigger picture kind of concept because, you know, they were in there telling me to. And so I would, oh yeah, and that was another thing too, on the lady, the religious lady who's also the psychic. She was in her speech that she was giving, you know, because she was better than other people, because she could always see through things. Like, she knew when somebody was bad and knew when somebody was good and stuff. And to me, it's like, from my perspective of what it is you're not supposed to see the things. Your lessons are supposed to come in the way they come in. I'm not supposed to be able to look at this person and go, oh, this person's going to eventually be bad for me. You're supposed to go in and learn the experience. And so, yeah, there can be people who you run across and you're like, oh, that person's not good for me. And as you are developing in so that you can recognize, you know, who's good for you and who isn't good for you. But to say, like, that you were able to see these things so that you didn't go through the experience. But what are you here for? You're here to go through the experiences. So I don't know. I just thought that whole perspective of her saying that, it was like, I don't know. It was, I felt like she was very much in ego and arrogance, whatever she was trying to say. And that set off this other guy who was, you know, pointing out that she's talking to the devil. Don't listen to these evil people who talk to the devil and tell you that they're talking to somebody else. You know, and that's what I would be told. I mean, I was told that when I was little, and I was trying to tell, you know, what they were telling me. And it was like, oh, quiet your mind. The devil's trying to talk to you. It's like, yeah, but the devil's not real. So who's trying to talk to me? Because I'm pretty sure it's aliens. And anyways, the things are supposed to happen in your life. You're not supposed to see the lesson before the lesson occurs. You're supposed to go through the experience, and then you get an opportunity to look through the lesson from the other side. But you're supposed to, you're here to go through the lessons. So, and to think like, oh, well, I saw that one coming. I didn't have to do that one. So, I don't know. It's like everybody's got to figure out their own thing. But to me, yeah, that sounds absurd. And, but anyways, when mine would come, they always came like in this, they came like, I can't figure out anything else to say except for like it was universal, like, it was meant to be, is meant to be, like how I would meet the people and stuff. But my mistake was thinking, oh, that this is the universe is bringing me this great partner, this soulmate, And no, your soulmates are here to teach you shit. They're not all nice to you. They're here to help you learn how to be nice to yourself, how to learn to love yourself. So it all depends on how you look at it. Like, yeah, I wouldn't go back into relationships with any of these people and be like, oh, well, now I'm healed. Now we could probably have a good relationship. No, the relationship was there for what it was there for. They taught me to become this person who I am, a stronger person, somebody who has boundaries, somebody who looks at things like I would take responsibility. Like, that is true empowerment, when you can take responsibility for your actions and not blame them on everybody else. So the relationships that I encountered helped me to grow. Confirmation. It helped me to grow and expand my own self and become more sure of myself and more true to myself. And yeah, you could sit there and whine and cry all day long. Oh, I've been with this abusive person, that abusive person. I'm sure there was probably at some point, that was like whiny about it. Like, oh, I've just been in bad relationships. They're all so abusive. They're all drunks. Ah. And, but when you find your power is when you're like, when you start seeing like, oh, I'm choosing this, and not even just choosing it. It's what comes into your orbit with what you're pulling in. Like, I was pulling in this energy is to show me, to teach me, because I kept pulling in this same energy. But you are the magnet. And so then once you start changing and you start doing better and healing and stuff, then you're pulling in different energy. Like, you're not pulling in people. Like, you still have people. Like I've said, I've had a lot of people come into my orbit. It was more of a test to see, where are you at with this boundary thing? Have you improved yet? And realizing how significant boundaries are. Like, you got to have boundaries. Like, you got to have boundaries with your kids. I was something that I was never good at. I was never good at having boundaries with anybody. And so it's been, a long journey for me to learn how to have boundaries. And there's been a lot of tests that I've gone through to see. And I feel like, yeah, I've improved. Like, I feel pretty good. And I feel like I can stand up when it's time to protect myself. And I can say, no more. But that doesn't mean I won't be challenged again. I'm sure the challenges come in, but your challenges are for you to see yourself. So you can recognize, like, oh, I do still need to work on that some. And, what is it? Who is it that pushes me to feel more like, oh, I shouldn't, oh, well, okay, whatever you want. You got to just recognize those things and see. And I think a lot of times that when we are doing that, like, oh, well, we're going to take care of them, is because we have something that we relate to. So we kind of, in our mind, we're going back and taking care of ourselves by taking care of them. But really, nobody needs to be taking care of anybody else. You only need to be taking care of yourself. And for you to think that you need to go take care of somebody else's ego, to think that you know better for somebody what than they know for themselves. And it's weird too, because like, we are in a society where people just seem to not think for themselves, not be able to They're just like on a script. And the script is being written by people who like division. They want us to all fight. They want us to not get along. They want to keep men and women separated. Like, can you imagine if they had strong families and strong couples? Like, these people would have no power. I mean, they would have no power if men were out, just making their way, and if it was like on a farm and the man was making things out in his shop and selling them, and the woman was just doing their food and taking care of their kids, and they didn't need all this bullshit. You see, that's why they got to keep us all divided and keep us all, and how many other people just keep on staying that way and even going further. Like, I don't know. I feel like that there is a part of a lot of women who are like, well, we don't need men, but like, just like have the government take care of us. And one thing too is like, if you've ever gone out and been a single woman, which I had never done, I don't think since I was young, I hadn't been single until this period of my life, which started like 2016, when I've chose to be single. And what I know, it's leading up to this, like I know what is to come on some things. And this person has been in my, they're in my energy, I'm in their energy. They're in my dreams. I imagine I'm in their dreams. So we are already in each other's energies. So I know at some point, we'll be in each other's physical energy. But so anyways, I'm not saying like, well, I'm going to be single forever. I'm not like that. No, but there was definitely a period of time of being single, of learning independence, learning about who I am, what I'm made of, what I can do, what I can't do. And I can do a lot. I can do a lot of fucking shit. And, there's a lot of stuff where I saw like, well, I don't need a man. I can do this myself. But then there's other things. It's like, ugh, a guy would be nice. Like to have a guy around, somebody who go out and chop down a tree. Like there's some things, and some women can do it, and I can challenge myself and keep doing it. But then there's also that part of like challenging myself of being in balance and finding another person and us becoming in balance together. Like you do these things and I'll do these things, where we're both have, I don't know, there's an equality and balance. But, I just feel like being single, you can go out and see the benefits of a partner, of a different gender, of somebody who is stronger or something. And I'm not saying like every relationship that is same gender that they have a weakness. There probably is a development in it. Each person fills a role when it's a healthy relationship. But we just have a lot of relationships that aren't healthy. We have a lot of relationships that are gay where it's like both people aren't gay. It's like some people are just trying to find somebody to care about them, and they don't trust the other people. So they just migrate towards other women, someone who feels safe to them. And so, but there's still relationships that are same gender that they can find balance. There's one that is stronger and one that is more likes to cook and one that more likes to make things. Like, we have, but in the male female, then it's very specific. But remember too, is that all of us have both things inside of us. So even the people who are gay or trans or whatever, they have both things inside of them. They just feel more on the other side. So there can be a soul that's born into a woman's body, but she's way more masculine because her soul is way more on a masculine side. Maybe she's lived a whole bunch of lives as a man, and so now she's coming in as a woman to get that experience. But some feel too uncomfortable. Like there's a whole thing. There's lots of different things. Everything is so much more than what we try and think of it as. It's way deeper. It goes way more into spiritual stuff. So when you take the two opposing forces, the AC and the DC, And that is where you're trying to find this current that is balance. So that is a part of some of the people's challenge, not everybody. I'm not saying somebody's doing it wrong because they are same-sex partners or whatever. You know, that's their life journey. That's their challenges. That's what they're there to learn from. But in the typical is that we have male and female, and we have to learn how to get along with ourselves so that we can get along with a partner. And that is a part of our society that has not been pushed. It has been, you know, just go and take whoever comes your way. If they walk down your street, if you're living next door, like whatever, just take whoever. It's like, that's not, I don't, I think that, you know, you can have standards and you can be more choosy and, you know, you can want more. Like, to me, it's very important to be on the same wavelength, to be in, you know, this, that's more important to me than probably anything, is to just be in the same kind of vibration, to just get each other, to understand each other. And, I don't know, to make life the adventure, to go out and to experience life together with a partner who, I don't know, like you can, I've never had this, but I can see that it's possible that you can have a couple that is balanced and that it's like that they can feed off of each other by being in balance. So there is a healthy goal for humanity, you know, a direction. And all these people who want to keep fighting it, like, where do you want society to go? Like, what is your plan? You know, let's just get rid of all the men. Let's just get a bunch of bears and let's all just be lesbians together. It's like, I, I don't know. I feel like that, you know, I don't know. You just have to believe in yourself and your own healing and stuff, and know that you can make better relationships, that your bad relationships were coming from like your low self-esteem and, you know, allowing people who weren't good for you to come into your life to show you that you had that open door. And so when you figure out how to close that door, then you're not going to have these toxic people. You set the bar just by closing that door. And you're going to, it is like man, I don't know how to explain it, but that is like going through a portal. That's like you entering into a new existence. Once you realize that you've opened the door and that you can close that door and you don't have to let people in who don't treat you well. And once you realize that, then you've changed that energy right there. And right away, you're going to start pulling in people who are better for you. But also, don't forget, when you start pulling in people that are better for you, there's going to be tests. There's going to be temptations. Those are all part of the game. So you have to, you know, be willing to go up against the test and see whatever occurs, you know. It can be a lot of different things. Like, it would be so crazy for me to even try and say. There's so many different available things, situations that can work out. So whatever yours is, that's what you got to remember. It's there to, like, you made a decision. You decided to go in a certain direction, that you were going to have more respect for yourself. And so then, you know, you could be at a party and somebody's being very disrespectful, and you've got to turn around and you got to stand up for yourself. And so it can be something like that. You know, it's just, you'll have some kind of a force that will push you on your boundaries. And you may fail the first time. And then you may feel like, you know, what an idiot. Or you may fail by overreacting and freaking out on somebody. And then you go in and you're like, oh my God, why did I do that? Why did I freak out? It's because you have all this emotion inside of you. You don't know how to do with it. And when something challenges it, sometimes it's overdoing it. And so that is a big thing, that you got to learn how to forgive yourself. When you overreact on something and you freak out, you know, it's You know, it's all a part of the establishment of, you know, your own sanity, to get yourself to a point where you are reasonable and sane and calm, and you can deal with things without losing your mind, without your emotions going crazy and stuff. That is all a part of path, the path to enlightenment, the path to your best self, the path to the you that's waiting up ahead. So, you know, the yous that are back here that all these people are fighting to keep, those are the ones that are going to be getting purged out. They're not going to want to, you know, once the world is going in this other direction and they see like, oh, I'm the problem. I'm the one who's creating this division. I'm the one who's not healing and trying to blame it on everybody else. Once they see that, they're all going to be faced with an opportunity to heal themselves, to work on themselves. And that is where I was saying, this is where it's going to show, like, there's going to be a mass amount of suicide for sure, because so many people are so in ego they can't even face it. And then there's going to be so much shame, so much there's going to be so much toxic stuff is going to keep having to be purged out of our society. And the people who can't purge it out are going to run from it. They're just going to try and take the easy way out. You can't take the easy way out, don't forget, unless that was always the way you're meant to go. So, you know, when all these people start taking this road out and they all start like doing themselves in, you got to remember that that is how this was all going to play out. It was always going to play out that way. And just, you know in your heart that they're going to be at their life review, and they don't get it. You don't get to get away from that. There's no escape. There's no escaping you. It's just, it's just fact. You can't escape yourself. So whatever your attitude is and stuff, you'll still face it. And the hard thing is once you go to the life review and face it, though, that's when you get yourself into, you can't fix it anymore. And everything here, while you're here, you have opportunities to fix it. But then you have to go back into the game. Or that's why I've said you've got like a whole team around you whispering in your ears, trying to guide you. So, or the mistakes they made, that they want to put it back in order. And so, a lot of people do that. They just go over and go around the person or different people, and it can also be like people who struggled with drug addiction. And then they just kept pushing and pushing it, didn't heal. They die, they go to their life review. And then they're like, oh my gosh. And then they look at all of their family members and they see it from a totally different perspective. And then they feel so much compassion and they want to heal it and they want to fix it. And they feel shamed like for the things that they've done and stuff. And that is the drive to go back in and, go reincarnate, go back into the game to get back in there so that you can fix it. But it's a lot more complex than what people think. And so that's why when you're here, it's like every day you should just get up and just like look at life as in a spiritual perspective, so you can be dealing with this stuff, so you can see things on a deeper level and you can understand things in a more complex way and what you're doing here, and you got to keep asking yourself what you're doing here. Because not everybody's here for the same lessons. My lessons are different than other people's. Some other people's lessons could be just they're here just to learn to not be racist. Like, everybody's got their own stuff that they're here learning and growing, and their challenges and what it is they're being shown. And whatever it is you're being shown is so it's to trigger a response so you can figure out who you are. So anyways, I don't know. I feel like I'm just ranting and raving. Hopefully I'm making some kind of sense to somebody that understands what the hell I'm talking about. It all is about us. And we can't fix society until we fix ourselves. And once we fix ourselves, then, the next partner, the next, like, it could be a child, it could be a parent, it could be a partner, it could be a lot of different things, but there will be a next step where then you have to find that balance in that current, and that's a part of your lesson. And then once it starts going like that, it's like the whole circuit board is going to light up with acceptance and love and not all this division and blame, it's all men's fault that I've had a bad life. Well, I've had a lot of women that treated me bad, really bad. And I don't even look at it as like any of the people who have treated me bad did it on purpose. I look at the people who have treated me bad as damaged. They're damaged. They've got issues. They weren't just going out to try and, hurt me. They just didn't know how to, they just didn't know how to live right. They didn't know how to look at things. They didn't know how to express themselves. They didn't know how to, oh no, there's different ways of living. And this is the time on this planet to reevaluate. Everything is happening to prioritize, to reevaluate. How do you live? What do you see as important? And it's I'm telling you, it's vital for people to work on themselves and to get to the core of your pain and suffering, and let it go, and work on, your becoming more vulnerable and putting yourself out there, and saying what it is that you think. And what was the other one? Because I can keep seeing it. Putting yourself out there, you speaking your truth, and being more connected. But and boundaries. Boundaries is just super, super important for people to be like, well, that's not good for me. No, I'm not going to accept that. That doesn't work for me. And that takes a lot of vulnerability to be able to say how you feel about something. That is very difficult. Like if you're having problems with that, it's because it's very difficult. It's very hard. So don't be hard on yourself when you're doing hard things. Just keep going. Just keep trying. Keep practicing. Keep remembering that, anything that has value is hard. And that every opportunity that you have is an opportunity for you to grow and expand. And so you don't have to be mad at yourself because you haven't done it right the first time, or you're still struggling with it and it's hard to understand. Just keep focusing in that direction. Just keep asking yourself, like, what you're doing. Why am I doing this? How do I get there? Why do I feel this way? Why am I mad at this person? You just keep trying to get down to understand yourself. And that's the empowerment. It's when you stop blaming others for how you feel. You take responsibility for how you feel, how you act, what you do, what you think. It's your responsibility. And so, anyways, I don't know. I feel like I just keep rambling. It's giving me a headache. So, but there was a couple of things that I had seen too. To me, it just seems like everything is just moving faster and faster and faster. And we're going in this direction, and everything is, like going. It's almost like everybody's been on a bike pedaling going uphill, and then all of a sudden we got the top of the hill, and now everybody's going downhill. But once we get down to the downhill, that is when everything is going to change. Like there's some point where everything changes, and that is where that's when the real party starts. That's what I'll say. That's when things are really going to get wild. But I think it's going to, change the conversations. There's not going to be there's zillion women who are fighting to stay in victim mentality. Like, please, just let us stay here and be victims. Men suck. It's like, what a sad, sad way to live. And anyways, but there's just these things that have to be purged out of society. A lot of stuff has to be purged out of our society because our society has adapted to being so toxic. And all you got to do is just think about, like, what's life been like? I mean, we lock kids in cages. Smart people lock kids in cages. Like, well, does that mean we should all lock our kids in cages? Like, what happens in our society when the kids are all released out of the cages? So, anyways, there's a lot to think about. There's a lot in this world to think about. And don't just get caught up in a group think. You know, it's okay to think different than other people. It's okay to have different opinions. You may not be ready to express them because, fuck, you'll be attacked. Bet your ass you'll be attacked. But, you know, it's okay. Like, it's okay to look at things different, especially like in a group of girls and you're hearing them and it just sounds like wacky. It's okay to, you know, you don't have to go in and tell them all like how to think or anything. Like, let them all figure it out. Like, the universe is definitely going to show them. But, you know, it's okay to think like, well, I don't agree. You know, you don't have to go in and start arguing with them. Like, that doesn't mean that that's giving boundaries. No, boundaries would be more of somebody's trying to get you to do something that you don't want to do, and you saying, no, I'm not going to. So, you know, if all those girls wanted you to go down to a bar and attack men together, to show them, let's go trick a bunch of men, let's get them to buy all our drinks tonight, and then let's make a bit, you know, like, that's where you're like, no, that doesn't go with my boundaries. I'm not going to get involved in something like that. But, you know, you don't have to, every single word that comes out of somebody's mouth, there's a part of where we just have to accept people's opinions, you know. And I've got opinions, I've got ones that people don't want to accept. And that doesn't mean I'm going to say, okay, well, my opinions don't have any validity. I'm going to still say, well, my opinions matter just because you don't see them. It doesn't matter to me. I can see it fucking crystal clear. So, but I'm not going to go in and argue. Like, I already, I wish I could turn off the notifications. I don't want to just take away the thing, because it does have a lot of conversing. Like, a lot of these people, like, maybe they'll go in and understand them themselves. They don't go in and even read the other messages. They just all just say the same fucking shit over and over and over. It's so absurd. So anyways, but you got to love them. What you going to do? They're all girls that have been damaged and hurt, and they don't know how to heal themselves. And it seems like the smartest thing to do is just, you know, cut everybody off who doesn't agree with them. But, you know, that really limits you in life. So it's way better to try and get along with people and accept people for their opinions and let people think what they want to think and be who they want to be. You don't have to participate in all the games. So that's just a part of the learning. And but like I said, it very much is like, once you get into this point of observation where it's just like you're just walking down this road and there's all these things happening all around you, and all the people that it's happening to, they're all very caught up in it. But you have to decide how caught up you're going to be. Like, I'm not getting caught up at these girls, just sit and argue and fight with them all day long. No, I tried to say some stuff yesterday to give them some kind of perspective. Now it's in there. The comments in there. I've already said it. I'm not saying it to every single fucking one of you. Like, all day long, I may have to say 100 times a day about how I take in copper and where my playlist is and what you can go look at and what minerals. Like, I may say that, but that is something that I have taken on. You know, and it is very redundant all day long to get asked the same questions. But on this one, where I've commented on somebody else's post, and all these women who wanted to hate this man apparently decided that I was the next best thing. I'm sure they're all hating him too. I'm sure there's probably other people in the comments that they're probably hating. I have had some girls come on and like my comment. So there is some girls out there who just are quietly standing in the background thinking that other women seem like that they're whacked out on anger, whacked out on hormones and anger. It's like, but you got to heal that shit. And while you're healing, you got to remember, you got to love yourself. You got to love everybody. Like, you just do. And you got to figure out how to have a loving day. It's up to you. I'll talk to you later.